You are responsible for healing your triggers. I didn't say you are responsible for getting them. I didn't say you're responsible that you have a trigger, but I did say you are responsible for healing your own triggers. Welcome back to Elena Talks. This is my channel where I believe education has to precede the process of you healing. When we don't know what's going on, sometimes it's really hard to heal. And I love blending psychological principles with spiritual concepts. You guys know that's what I love, making things very practical. So let's dive into today's topic, which is healing triggers. What's a trigger? Well, maybe I should start with what's traumatic. There's a lot of debate and, podcast videos about, oh, people say everything's so traumatic. So in my channel, this is how I understand trauma. Trauma, regardless of what it is anything that's highly emotionally, psychologically disturbing for you. No one can tell you if that's triggering or a big deal or not. If something was severely embarrassing or petrifying or just isolating, right? Something that just deeply bothered you and there is no close. Think about it. It's like if you eat something that's toxic and it's still stuck in your stomach, like we just wanted to expel it out, regardless of how, we want it out. But if it's still stuck and it's still bothering you and preventing you from being healthy, being present, being, the person that you desire to be, that's that traumatic stuff in you. And trauma only really ends when there is closure, right? The definition of trauma itself, it's synonymous to something happened and you don't have closure. There's no resolution, not in your body, mind, physiology, none of that. And so when you have something that's traumatic, regardless of what it is, could be an entire traumatic upbringing, very broad. It could be something that very specifically happened, like say a car accident, and now you have issues with cars and driving. So a trigger by default will agitate and bring up what is traumatic, what is still trauma within you. And you can try to sometimes pretend that you're not triggered or just bulldoze through it. And that does not always work. In fact, sometimes there's the opposite effect of over traumatizing yourself by trying to expose yourself. I understand, like in the example of, let's say, someone almost drowned or someone had a bad car accident. There comes a point where sometimes reintegration, healthy exposure, slowly and surely into water by cars, driving around the neighborhood, walking into water to your knees. There's that level of healthy exposure that's needed. However, if you just decide to throw yourself into the deepest end of the lake or all of a sudden peel into a highway and start driving, that's probably going to re-traumatize your system, and your system will integrate more information. This is so petrifying. This is exactly why we are going to stay away from it. And you can, with your mind, with everything in you, try to push through a situation. But if there's almost like a psychological, if I could say, cap, it's like a closed, I don't know, it's like the brakes pulling you back, again, you are going to do quite some damage to your nervous system. So sometimes easy does it. So why am I talking about you are responsible for healing your triggers? Well, simply put, again, I'm not going to blame people in my life or people in your life or experiences or the government or politics or school systems or specific individuals who hurt you. Like, we could sit and point fingers and we can actually sometimes waste a lot of time. I'm not talking about like justice, like that's important, but I'm talking about your specific life. If you are too busy pointing your finger at other people who hurt you, they, them, she, her, they, all these people, they did this to me, and because of that, that's why I'm closed off. That's why I don't trust people. That's why I'm angry. That's why I just get so agitated. That's why, okay, fine. That's why your life is like that from now on. You are maybe impacted to this moment for a reason, and sometimes they're very sad reasons. However, I will be the one that speaks victory into your life. You can sit there and forever identify as your trauma, your triggers. Again, I am trying to educate people like this stuff is real. But if you stay here and camp out, there is a fine line between being validated for certain things that you've gone through and pushed to get out of it versus camping in. This is the rest of my life. This is my story. This is who I am. And this will become your identity. and you will be stuck in that. And you, again, what you eat, we're talking about like the psychological metaphor, what you put into you, you will continue to like ooze out and digest out of you. So we continue then to recreate a life out of this victimhood. And that's the problem. Actually, I do something called maladaptive schemas where I help people identify certain areas in their life, these like templates in life, where we continue to recreate certain experiences. So let's say you have a maladaptive schema where you are, you know, in the mistrust and abuse domain in life. Which I'm not saying is full-blown abuse. I mean, think of everything as spectrums and degrees. Your trust could have been betrayed in something, right? So if you are stuck in that, let's say things have happened to you, people like growing up would just, you know, promise you they'd be there for you and then they just bounce and disappear or whatever, right? There comes a point where you have to start breaking that stuff off of you and actively go through a healing experience. And it's never just like, oh, I'm healed. Oftentimes it's cyclical. There's layers. It takes time. It's a process. However, what I'm saying is, if you are not going through that healing, you so become saturated in that substance, and I'm sorry to say this, we recreate the same stuff. So every opportunity that you will have to, let's say, be included in something, to be in a relationship with a trusting person, the problem is, A, you probably won't even gravitate towards what's healthy because your nervous system is not used to it. And B, you know, you will probably still push it away even if you're around it. And so we consciously and subconsciously continue to seek out, oh, everyone always does this, they betray me. And we continue to position ourselves around people who do just that. And our subconscious and nervous system will identify and find that. And then when that 100th person leaves again, we're like, oh, we knew it. I know it. It's always like this. Because the brain, unfortunately, likes to have these patterns. It likes to find a neural pathway and stick to it. It's like, you know, once you make a trail, let's say in tall grass, we just want to continue to walk on that trail because it's a lot easier to do that, even if we know there's kind of a cliff at the end, than sit there and find a new trail and stomp out a new path and, you know, do all that. The brain doesn't really like to do that. And so what I'm saying is, let's say you have this domain of mistrust, abuse, you're always, you know, worried about being betrayed or used, or people always leave me. You will have certain triggers. You know, a person doesn't invite you somewhere, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like they're, you know, like not everyone has to invite you to every single party. And plus, you don't have to always take it personally either. So if we have these triggers that keep making us feel upset or disappointed or rejected, or I'm seeing them hang out and I'm not with them, and now I'm just upset and I'm recreating this like narrative, nobody likes me, I'm never picked. How is that helping you? That narrative absolutely saturates into your psyche, and you continue to live out of that and emulate that. And I guarantee you, you might not even notice, but you might be like doing things with people that purposely sometimes even make it that you are not the person that maybe they want to invite, maybe because of your attitude or how you're acting, or you're starting to get rude or pouty, or you sense that there's a party kind of happen, and instead of you shining and being open, you start to actually remove yourself and disqualify and start to just like, again, creep out of that picture because something deep inside of you, the current program, says, you know, I'm not worthy of people's time. They're going to reject me anyways. I might as well just excuse myself anyways. As you can see, whatever, you know, your program is, your nervous system, brain, subconscious program, you know, all these words people use these days, whatever code is in you currently, you can update it, process of healing. And then you have to also start to do life different. So I think I'm going to tag the video that I did previously about like 2 ways to change yourself forever. Identify what's going on, identify the survival tactics, the function and the dysfunction. And if now you are updating this code, this program into from survival to thriving, especially as I believe the Bible actually talks about, so that your soul can prosper, then you have to start to learn new things, start being open, communicate, social, have your feminine heart, or just, heart in general, be open to receive, being expressive, loving life, having boundaries, communicating standards. There's a whole different way that you're gonna have to start to operate. So something that I offer in my Talk Shop community membership, it's $39.99 a month. You can check it out, cancel anytime, but I provide a lot of education. I dump a lot of stuff, posts, videos. I want this community to be very interactive with people's questions. There's also a coaching add-on for a very discounted price thing that you can do. But my point is, there is a level of education, but especially the clients who add on the coaching services, they're the ones that I help them go through that inner healing, focusing on their inner child, breaking off these triggers, identifying the limiting beliefs or their comfort zone of their nervous system, identifying, learning, oh, this is your fight mode, this is your flight mode. Hey, this isn't you actually, being busy and serving the church and God and family and volunteering. This is kind of you escaping or dissociating, or let's figure out that balance of where you're honoring yourself, but you're not neglecting your needs and then being resentful. That active process of inner healing, going into that inner mode. Why am I the way I am? Without being lost in all the analytical stuff, but just identifying, that makes sense. This was my upbringing, my cultural influences, my father-mother dynamics. This is, why this made sense. Again, the function and the dysfunction. Okay, wonderful. Now for a new template, a new person, a new canvas, how does that look like? And is it going to be super easy? Boom, I'm changed, I'm different. No, because like I said in my last video, I've been practicing to be more open and communicate even with my own husband, and the level of vulnerability that even my nervous system, right? Because I'm always wanting to expand. That's that abundance that I love talking about. We grow more. There's gonna always be this oh, this is kind of uncomfortable, I'm growing, but I know it's for good. I know I need to communicate something with my husband so that we can both benefit in our relationship from this truth or whatever it is. There's always that this is kind of hard, this is uncomfortable. I can go back, but I already know what my results are gonna be. They're not great. That's why I'm trying to move forward. So you are responsible for healing your triggers. What are you doing to actively pursue healing? Healing and growth, in my opinion, are synonymous. Excuse me. So I'm just going to encourage you guys, do some, digging into your life. Think about it. Where are you still healing? What really triggers you? What is something that if this wasn't a trigger, how would you be? What would your social life look like? What would your relationships with friends be? If you didn't believe the current program, and if you didn't stay stuck in that, what would be happening? And I understand sometimes it is hard and it's helpful to have someone else come alongside and help you identify certain triggers, but that's part of the healing journey. We can't do it all by ourselves. I'm constantly hiring coaches and counselors and people who help me process and expand, who give me, if I could say, the space and the container, especially as a woman, to learn and to grow and not recreate the wheel, especially when I look for help in women who have already figured certain stuff out, and they can give me their wealth of wisdom and help me integrate into my specific situation. So if you're interested, do excuse me, I'm having a hard time talking. Do check out my Talk Shop membership. I'm going to link it below. And again, I want to say this Talk Shop itself, just like any book here, isn't going to magically change you. What's going to change you is actual reflection, application, integration, you becoming a legit, real participant in your healing journey, opening up your heart, seeing it for what it is, being raw. The more you can do that, the more you will get out of it in this experience, and it will actually be multiplied, because these are some of these universal laws. Whatever you put down, whatever you have, even that will be multiplied. That's really good If you have freedom and blessing and bliss and expressiveness and just fun, that will be multiplied. That's really bad when you're already upset, depressed, mad, angry, even that will be multiplied. So which route do you choose? Join the talk shop, integrate yourself, make yourself an active participant in your healing journey. Get started with someone, somewhere, and I'd love to see you in my next video.